See, that countdown music plays, and then it's just us four. It's just a bit of an underwhelming introduction. You know, it's like we're building up to something huge, and then it's just boom, us four in our rooms right around the world. Look, I haven't really worked out how we're going to do the intros because at first I wanted to just like slowly fade in like they do on the WTF podcast. It's hard to do when there's a 30-second countdown before.
We could start speaking really quietly first of all, and then slowly build it up.
Let me just kind of like talk about whatever, and then just kind of fade in. Or should we do like the opposite, which is what they do here in Spain, which is a super loud introduction? Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to give?
Oh, please.
Okay. All right.
Start us off with some enthusiasm.
This is how it goes insane. Hola, muy buenas a todos. Hola, muy buenas, Josh Parish. ¿Qué tal, Josh?
Hola.
En Melbourne, yo, Simón.
Hola, Nick. ¿Dónde está la bahía?
No sé.
Where's the bathroom? That's the only thing I know how to say.
No. Baño. I don't know what you would talk
about. I can't even say that properly.
Look, we're getting there. Hola, Teo Pellizzeri. ¿Cómo estás?
Well, if it isn't the MAFFS crew.
All right, see, that works. Look, write in. Let us know in the comments which is your favorite introduction. A slow, kind of random build-up, a slow or a strong, full-on thing. Or, you know, the other thing as well is the song. I still want to do the song. I haven't quite worked out the lyrics or the beat.
National anthem, isn't it? To start.
Yeah. You know what? It would be good. I feel like look, we're going to talk about it. But look, guys, really serious question right off the top. I'll start with you, Josh. Do you prefer your chips smooth or ruffled?
I would say a smooth chip.
Okay, Joe, smooth or ruffled?
Ruffled.
Okay, Teo, smooth or ruffled?
Ruffled for sure.
Okay. Now, what about your feathers? Because we ruffled a few feathers this week. And it's just good to know. Like, I just think like chips, smooth or ruffled. But, you know, the feathers were ruffled a little bit this week. So if you haven't listened to the show previously, well, what have you been doing with your time? But also, you might have, like, we made a lot of fun about a lot of things last week. We can't go into too much detail, but there were some feathers ruffled. There can be a bit of conjecture, a bit of gossip about what it actually was. We can't really properly go into detail because we'll have to Rey Mysterio this. But it's just good to know that, you know, it's there. Joe, look, Josh and Tay have already bailed on me, but that's okay. It's only 3 minutes into the show. But look, the good thing about feathers is even if they get a bit ruffled, they can be smoothed out. So, look, I just wanted to, say, last week, we made a little bit of fun of the Paramount Plus Player Index, and we've grown as people, we've grown as a podcast, we've learned, we've been informed, and I just want to say, we've moved on from that, and we kind of won't be making any more jokes about that. And I just also want to welcome our new sponsor, the Paramount Player Plus Index. If you ever need to index a player, Paramount Plus Player Index, the way to go. It's the best. $4.99. I get it. Totally get it. Guys, look, let's start with how the show. It was a very fun, batshit, crazy week in Australian football. Joe, what was the best, most fun thing for you this week? Wow, Joe, just silence there.
Hey. No, I got you, mate. Well, look, my favourite moment this week, I was going to say the Aaron goal because he's the most exciting thing about the A-League at the moment, and for quite a long time, I think. But I also figured, I think, there's a few people that might say that as well. So I want to go in a bit of a different angle. My most fun part of the Australian football this week was Western Sydney Wanderers. I wanted to point out that they've got a new major sponsor coming on board this season. So congratulations to them. Sushi Hub will be joining them. And what an establishment, firstly. One of the best sushi chains going around. But what I love is how they presented this to the public. So I'll pop it up here. So what we've got is a Western Sydney Wanderers representative with what I assume is a Sushi Hub representative. They're holding the jersey. Very good. They're both looking really happy.
It's hard to tell. It's really a random Japanese guy that they've gotten. This will do for the photo.
You'd hope not. But my favorite part about this is the jersey. Look, I was expecting maybe Sushi Hub will come on board, maybe as a bit of signage, a signage sponsor, maybe the shirt sleeve. But what we can see here is Sushi Hub is placed where the player's name would nominally go.
Yes.
So it really does look like Sushi Hub will be lining up on the wing for Western Sydney Wanderers in the next game. And I absolutely love it. And as I'm saying this, I can see Josh Parish absolutely furiously racking his brain looking for a pun here.
This is, I mean, Perth Glory have had Chicken Treat playing on the wing for a decade. So
do you reckon Sushi Hub will be crossing into the bento box anytime soon?
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
Oh,
my
you
God.
didn't like that
Oh,
one?
my God. That's horrible. That is horrible. I think someone just booed from another apartment here in Spain. They don't even speak the language, and they hated that. That was rough.
But congratulations to Western Sydney. Congratulations to Sushi Hub. I wish them a glorious partnership together. That was fun for me.
You know what? You would hope that people could get sushi at Parramatta Stadium, because I did see someone paid $6 for a packet of chips this week.
Ruffled or smooth?
I think ruffled, but still, even with ruffled, you can't go up to $6. That is outrageous. Josh, what was your favorite thing of the week?
My favorite thing of the week, and there are a lot of things to choose from, a lot of great goals, a lot of great moments, a lot of drama, a lot of absolute wallopings as well. But my favorite moment was actually this tweet from Perth Glory's account before the match on Saturday against Wellington. For the benefit of the podcast listeners, I'll bring up this tweet. It's got a picture of the referee there, telling off a Brisbane Roar player, in fact. It says, weather-wise, it's a sunny afternoon in Wellington with a top temperature of 15 degrees. Daniel Elder is our match referee. He's a typically dynamic Sagittarian with a keen interest in ocean sports and abseiling. Which they copped a little bit of flack for this tweet, but I actually really like that. I think.
What was the criticism? What were people actually upset about? Like,
too much fun, clearly.
It's just clearly too much fun. And I actually think that, one thing that doesn't make Australian football fun is referee abuse. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah. And I feel like if we knew the referees a little bit more as people, maybe people wouldn't hurl so much abuse at them, and maybe they'd be treated a bit better. And I was also thinking, how on earth did Perth Glory get their hands on this information? How do they know that Daniel Elder is passionate about ocean sports and abseiling? And so I've been doing a little bit of digging over the weekend to try and find the source of this information. I've stumbled across, there's actually a dating app exclusively for referees.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys knew about this, but
you haven't been reading my
here.
DMs, have you, Josh?
Oh, that's
it's called Blunder. It's I've been going through it a little bit over the weekend, finding some of our favourites on there. Of course, heartthrob of them all, of course, is Alex, who's an outdoorsy type. He's from Queensland. He loves camping. He loves surfing. He doesn't like time wasters. No. So you got to be punctual with him. And this is true, actually. Concerningly, he was born on a place called Bribey Island. So not sure what to make of that. That is genuinely true, that one.
They call it Love Island over there.
Where is Bribey Island?
It's off the coast of Queensland somewhere. So, I'm sure he's... look, he's an outdoorsy
Does FIFA
type.
have their headquarters there? Or?
Well, surely he's been familiar with it from an early age. He knows how to combat that sort of thing. Now we've got Chris Beath in his familiar pose here, pictured. He does love long walks on the beach and the films of Alfred Hitchcock because he likes to take his time and he likes to keep us in suspense. And finally, we have the disembodied voice of Chris Griffiths-Jones.
KGJ.
Who remains anonymous, of course. He's just a voice over a microphone. He's a remote worker, of course, as most of us are these days. He works from home. And he loves anything that's, basically not in person and doesn't require a corporeal form, podcasts, phone conversations. And he's big into the FA Cup because he just loves replays. So I just thought I'd like to share a bit of, information about our referees this week. Hopefully people get to know them a little bit better and appreciate them as people and not just, the guy with the whistle.
I mean,
outstanding.
Fantastic. The effort that you've put in there. I mean, I thought Joe's...
Well, what do you mean? I've just taken a few screenshots, so...
And listen, Bento Box was quick off the bat, all right? I didn't have time to put an effort like Josh did just then. That was amazing.
But look, Jack, this is what you did. You started a monster. Now, Josh thinks he has free reign to do about 900 puns there. Teo, tell me, what was the best thing for you this weekend?
I'm spoilt because you've left Melbourne Victory's first half and Bruno Fornaroli's 4 goals, and you've also left Iran Kunda. How can I not choose Nesta Iran Kunda? The quality of the goals, and we had a great question before the show, Stoll, which I think is going to spark a debate because we are talking about the funnest guy in the league to watch appointment viewing at this point. Stoll, what was the question? Because I suspect that Nestor Iran Kunda is the answer.
The question from Joseph Checone is, has Nestor Iran Kunda got the best highlights reel of any player to ever play in the A-League? Every goal is a banger. I think he does. All right. So I had a good about 30-second think about this when the question came in. Who are the nominees? Because Iran Kunda, the highlights reel is insane at this point. All right. So I was thinking about it. You've kind of got like Carlos Hernandez in the victory day. There was a lot of amazing highlights, that banger from against Gold Coast United back in the day. Bruno Fornaroli, I mean, we saw his kind of goal on the weekend. You talked about the 4 goals there. He actually does have an amazing highlights reel as well because he scored quite a few goals outside the box. You'll remember that kind of when he did the Rabona to set up that amazing goal for City years back. Is Brojc Ninkovic in there, or do they not have quite the same highlights reel? Because I can't ever remember them scoring absolute amazing bangers.
But they also don't have the volume of assists that are mind-blowing to the extent that Iran Kunda already has goals that are mind-blowing. And Josh, not just in the A-League, like we've seen his Australia under-17 stuff as well, where he is a class above too. I mean, you suggested Carlos Hernandez before we went on air, Josh. I mean, does Nestor need to do more to overtake Carlos Hernandez, or has he got him covered already?
I would like to see him score some big goals in, semi-finals, that sort of thing. I remember a really great Carlos Hernandez goal in a semi-final against Adelaide. But, in terms of just the pure aesthetic of the highlight, he's getting into that Hernandez territory where he's a guy who just likes to try and take the leather off the ball every time he hits it. And these net-busting strikes are just unbelievable. So, no, I'm on board with this. I think he has, in the short time, whatever it is, until he moves to some European super club that we haven't left, he has the chance to assemble quite the highlights package. And I can't really think of another player other than Hernandez who really comes close in terms of the spectacular finishes. I'm sure we'll get some suggestions in the comments.
Have we sold Archie Thompson short? Because while he doesn't have Hernandez or Iran Kunda's spectacular strikes in terms of big important goals and awesome crowds that fed off his big moments, he's probably unrivaled, I would actually suggest, in the league.
You know what? I think like when we think of highlights reel, what I'm thinking of is the 3-minute clip on YouTube. If you were showing your grandkids in 70 years, this kid was amazing. And, like the classic example is like Olivier Giroud is not the greatest player.
Do you think Avicii will hold up in 70 years though, Stoll?
Well, you know what? For a long time, the best thing of like A-League highlights reel was the blooper reel that was done every year, which was spectacular and used to go for about 18 minutes and have unbelievable amount of views. But yeah, I feel like Archie Thompson has done more, has had bigger moments. Definitely kind of, if you're going to make a documentary about them, Archie Thompson has a much better kind of career at this stage. But in terms of the 3-minute highlights reels, like, yeah, that's what I mean about like Giroud. Giroud has these goals that you're like, oh my God, this guy was the best player ever. But it's like, no, he wasn't even ever at any stage top 50. Like, I can't even remember when he was the best player on his own team.
You know one who's actually let down for like the polar opposite reasons of Archie Thompson, but has the great highlights is Roy Krishna. Has anyone scored better goals in front of fewer fans than Roy Krishna?
I don't know. Surely someone who plays for Monaco or something over this. Ryan via YouTube suggests Ola Toivonen highlights reel is pretty decent. The other one was Mark Yanko. Mark Yanko is was he one season? He had some unbelievable goals for Sydney. Nick Tabano says Guy Finkler would low-key have a great 3-minute.
No, that's a lot of good free kicks. And we've missed another obvious one. Craig Goodwin, of course.
Yeah, Craig Goodwin is up there.
Are we cheating if we include Australia Cup goals though?
Nah, for sure. You include, as far as I'm concerned, training, preseason, whatever. Like a banger's a banger. I don't need to know what.
Just 3 minutes of Del Piero Juve goals and we're done.
You know what, Del Piero. I mean, Del Piero's got a little bit of a shout. I mean, you'd have to put it on 2-speed because he was moving very slow. But that's all right. We can be a bit tricky.
How many replays of that one free kick are you going to show if you're just doing his goals in Australia?
Remember when he scored 4 or 5 against Wellington? Oh,
True.
Joe, anyone spring to mind for you?
I was just going to say, it is crazy that we're talking about someone who has the best highlight reel in the A-League who has made 2 league starts. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. 2 starts, and he already has
2 starts, and he's the best player in the A-League. It's unbelievable.
It is crazy that he's like 17 as well. I don't know. It's you know what? Nick Tabana's making the point about peak Bruno at City was different grade. It's a good point. I do think as well, like Aaron Moyes' season at City was unbelievable. That whole team, oh man, John Van Schip, I don't know how they stuffed it up. But anyway, look, let's quickly talk about Adelaide. What do you guys think? They hammered City, and City are in a little bit of trouble. Do you guys remember when Rado Vidicic was considered the brains behind Raw Salona, and Ange Postecoglou was just riding the genius that is Rado Vidicic? Does seem in 2023 that that no longer applies.
I have a fringe theory, and Raw fans and Ange fans will probably hate it. But are we underselling the value of Raw actually having Gold Coast United down the highway as a somewhat existential threat to their monopoly on Southeast Queensland as one of the reasons that Raw Salona even happened? Because my big theory is that 2 teams in Brisbane would sharpen up and fix the Raw like that because they would have to compete for their turf. And Raw Salona and Gold Coast, they kind of cross over.
And then you've got City here who, they've got 2 rivals in town, but they're sinking like a stone at the moment. Look, I think they'll come good, to be honest. I don't think this can last. City basically have an annual pilgrimage to Hindmarsh Stadium for their ritual humiliation and sacrifice. Like they just can't win there. It's ridiculous.
It used to be a 2-2 draw rather than a 6-0 loss, though.
True, but think of the FFA Cup finals it was then with Al Hassan Touré's breakout game, and there's been the last minute giveaway I think Glover was involved in that was a draw I believe, but they have a terrible record at Hindmarsh, so I wouldn't read huge amount into this. It was a rough night for City, rough night for McLaren, who did complete 100% of his passes. Unfortunately, all 7 of those passes were kickoffs.
Was that actually true? I couldn't believe that.
I did verify that. They were all kickoffs. But they just couldn't get the ball to him. He had no service whatsoever.
Look, there is a big conversation to have about Jay McLaren, but we'll save that for another time because I've got some hot takes about Jay McLaren. Joe, we talked about last week irrational confidence kind of being so important to Australian football. Is Iran Kunda the only player whose confidence isn't irrational? Like, is actually totally backed up by his talent?
Absolutely. I think there's no other way about it. The thing I love about what he adds to Adelaide is they look like they have real avenues to goal now. Like that free kick obviously is just a master stroke, but he's bringing so much edge and creativity and X factor to that Adelaide side. They almost look unstoppable. Is it too early to call it, boys?
So, but how much of this was Adelaide good and City bad? Because like Callum Talbot, before he got injured last season, was having an awesome season for Melbourne City, and he's got Leo Lacroix's disease, whatever that disease may be, invasion of the body snatchers. What's happened? What's happened to players that actually might still top their Champions League group? They're doing the classic bad in the league, good in the Champions League thing. And given the state of the coefficient, that may actually be net benefit to the game in Australia.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what's happened is I put him in my fantasy team. It was the same with Lacroix last season. I put him in my fantasy team, and I still don't even know how the rules of fantasy work in the A-League. I want to play a wild card. I want to play about 1,000 wild cards because my team is stuffed and it's week 2. And because it was the same last season. Lacroix, best defender in the league. I'll put him in the team. Easy points every week. Talbot scoring goals in the wrong end, my friend. He got excited by the Iran Kunda show, and he just wanted to be a part of it. He's like, "Oh, this is fun!" Boom, head up, bottom corner. Look, it was a rough game for City. It'd be interesting to see how long they stick with Rado. I mean, we know we know Patrick Kisnorbo is probably going to be looking for a job sooner rather than later.
Hey, he can't. He's immune. He's immune to the sack. There's nothing he can do. He's like George Costanza trying to go in and lose his job.
To be fair, he's unbeaten in 3 now, which I think might be a record for his time in charge.
True.
We bigged him up last week as well, out of the blue. We really spoke him up. So I reckon there's a renaissance coming for him.
Stoll, you think your fantasy team is going bad?
Yeah.
All 11 of my starters played, and due to 4 of them pulling negatives, including Jamie McLaren as captain, I scored 1 point. I had 11 players play in fantasy, and I scored 1. And the team that beat me head-to-head in our league, Lockie Flanagan, scored 11.
Wow. I haven't even checked my score this week.
It is a race to the bottom.
Hey, via YouTube, we love the comments. Ben Smith says, token Diego Castro reference. I'm a parody of myself at this point. You're talking about best highlight reel. Castro was up there, man. Castro was an amazing, amazing player. Only problem was he was doing it on the west coast of Australia. And as pointed out by a lot of the East Coast media this week, we don't care what happens over there. It's too late for us. We have early bedtimes that we need to get to. And then have to complain about them.
I saw your tweet, Stoll. That was marvelous.
I just love the fact that people actually complain. Like, whose idea was it to put it at 7 p.m.
I mean,
Perth?
Maybe
the people in Perth?
Stoll, we will change the date before we change our bedtime. I think that is a guarantee.
That is the best. That is it. I mean, look, one thing I'll say about being in Spain here, like Champions League kicks off at 9 p.m. La Liga matches often kick off at 10 p.m. local time. It's not uncommon for you to see on a Friday, Saturday night, 5-6-year-olds in the street, walking the streets with their parents at midnight in the local town square. Australia's commitment to going to bed early is insane. Why are we going to bed so early all the time? People are like, I love the Matildas so much. Matildas are my favorite team. I'm just so inspired by the girls. Hey, do you mind staying up until 10 p.m. to watch them? What? On a school night? And it's like, sorry, mate. Do you actually go to school anymore? You're a 48-year-old man. What are you talking about on a school night for? And like, with all the respect, I would get it if you woke up at like 4 a.m. and had to produce Champions League like I used to when I was in Sydney. These guys are waking up for a 9 to 5. Relax a little bit on going to bed so early. The other thing that's absolutely insane. I just got to get off my chest.
Are you having fun, Stoll? Are you having fun?
Yeah. Are you looking to ruffle some more feathers today?
Look,
I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're going to hear about them.
I'll tell you what's insane. All right, so Australia. This is what biggest difference between Australia and Barcelona and Spain and everything. The only people who are waking up before like 8 a.m. to train, to do any exercise in the morning, literally are Olympic athletes. They're the only people who are going for this. What are we all doing in Australia? Like, I got friends on Instagram who are like, just got a 5 a.m. sweat on at like F45 or something. What for? What for? Like,
it's all about that Sigma grind set, Stoll.
Oh, man, it's insane. And they're like, had a great cold plunge today. What are you doing? We invented hot water for a reason. You guys are mad. Honestly, Australia's we've just gone mad. We're all trying to get extremely fit for I don't know what reason. And we need to relax a little bit and, start doing what they do here. Start your morning with a cigarette and a coffee and a croissant, and then move on to a massive 3-course lunch that has a beer with it, and then have a sleep, and then go back to work for a little bit, and then enjoy life.
That's why you've got to cater to your audience, though, Stoll. I mean, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're also going live on Strava for our Australian audience too.
Okay, I don't know what Strava is. What is Strava?
You don't even know what Strava is. Boys, come on.
What is it? Genuinely.
It's a running app.
It's 5 a.m. somewhere, Stoll.
Oh, it's the running app. That's right.
Hey, look, speaking of all the places that are going live, the good thing about going live in so many places, you can get your comments in. We had a comment come in via Twitch. Residual power. Hello, sorry for bothering you. Now, look, never feel bad. Yeah, no, never feel bad for bothering us. It's all just already. Look, here's what I also want to say. This podcast's been going on 3 weeks, and the first episode was rubbish. Second episode, not so good either. Third episode, I can already feel like the stars are starting. We started at 5. We're already weighing to 4. When probably someone was listening to this as they went for a run at 5 a.m. and I've just insulted them incredibly. Sorry about that. Anyway, Residual Power said, I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers, followers, views, chatbots, etc. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be best. Flexible and convenient. Order management panel, chat panel. Don't even know what these things are. Maybe it's on Strava or whatever it is. Everything is in your hands. Turn it on, off, customize. Go to Streamerizer. Look, we appreciate the comments, whether they come from bots who are trying to sell views or not. But look, if in the next week this thing skyrockets and we go to number 1 on the charts, you know it was residual power that made it happen.
And it just proves that literally anyone or anything can write in and Stoll will read it out. So feel free to leave a comment.
Basically. Hey, look, Josh, last week we were talking about our logo and the issues that we've had with the logo. We've got a lot of issues with this show, but we've had some improvements. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so 3032, who came up with this masterpiece, which is our background at the moment, which, look, the lawyers are not crazy about, has actually come through with an update. So we'll
with his own
.ru,
I believe, Josh.
Yeah, this is our potential new logo. It's a little bit military, but it's in Australian colours.
Yeah.
Let me talk you through the design document. Inspired by the CSKA logo, because I envisage a Soviet-like regime of fun taking over the league, says 3032.
Is Stoll going to be able to re-enter the country even if it's green and gold?
I don't think he wants to after the comments he made about people in ice baths in Australia.
No, look, just for people who are listening on podcast, it's very CSKA Moscow, which a few years ago, great, all on board. Vagnalov back in the day, what a player. But now, obviously,
Wait, Vagnalov? That's not what I've been calling him.
Isn't it? Look, I really appreciate it. I think this is a great logo. I think what we are doing right now is hopefully bridging the peace between Russia and the Ukraine and bringing peace to the world with this logo.
Well, I mean, CSKA, I did look up the club. They are known as the Army Men, which, look, it's probably not in vogue right now to be, but I do really like the logo. I'm actually quite torn, to be honest. So we'll put it to the audience.
Yeah.
Does this represent MAFFS? Is this what we want to be going forward with?
Or would you rather see a green and gold Stoa Bucharest style kit instead next week? You know, they're the police force from Romania.
You know what I love. Look, first of all, I don't know if it's 3032 or if it's 3032, but maybe it's 3032 like the Loopmobile ad back in the day. Loopmobile will come to you. 133032. You know what? Please, it'd be great if it was a Loopmobile reference. Look, I don't even know what I wanted to say. The logo looks great. I really like it. He's been doing the work for free, so I feel bad for asking for another one and saying, look, this one is a little too Russian military for my tastes. But look, I'm willing to reclaim everything.
Are you willing to take on the responsibility of sports czar, though? I know Bill Simmons is big on that. We need a sports czar. That could be the move.
I mean, the problem would be every other sport except football would get no attention from the sports whatsoever. Daniel says via YouTube. A few
drive-bys for the Queensland government on today.
That screams the People's Democratic Republic show. Oh, fantastic stuff. Teo's pointing out that 3032 is Maribyrnong Ascot Vale postcode. Maybe that's what it's in. I think it's a Loopmobile reference. That's what I want to do.
I think so.
Hey guys, what did you guys think of the Matildas? Absolutely smashed the Philippines. There was a bit of a debate on social media, which is Sam Kerr or Caitlin Ford. Now, Caitlin Ford yesterday, ridiculous, like absolute. I'm going for the Ballon d'Or this season. It was like she had something against the Philippines. Personally, wanted to destroy them as much as possible. One of the best individual performances I've ever seen in the Matildas.
7 goal contributions in one game, I believe it was.
That's it. Like, it's hard when Fornaroli scores 4, including a Rabona, and people say wasn't even the best performance of the weekend in Australian football. Caitlin Ford, insane. Now, there's a little bit of debate: Caitlin Ford or Sam Kerr, and I'll put it to you first, Joe. Caitlin Ford or Sam Kerr, and why?
Now we're talking. Who would we start for our next important match, or?
Who would you draft? Who would you draft for your team if you were in a sort of situation where all the players are there in front of you? You got to pick one. Who's pick number 1?
Oh, look, they're roughly the same age, aren't they?
But you're West Coast, and you have to factor in the go home factor for Caitlin Ford.
The go home factor is strong.
Whereas Sam Kerr is from WA.
Girl, so.
Yeah,
that's right. God, that's tough. I think you have to pick Sam Kerr. I think on form, you pick Caitlin Ford for your next game. But I think the power and when she's on form, how clinical she is, I think you pick Sam Kerr for your draft.
Josh.
including the West Coast factor.
Is this our Messi Ronaldo debate? Is
I
this
think
what
so.
all women's football discourse in Australia is going to be for the next 10 years? Oh, well,
I mean, not based on what I saw on Twitter this week, but I mean, hey, we can
Yeah.
sharpen it up by having this one.
Well, I mean, it sort of is a bit that in that vein because obviously Sam Kerr scores so many goals. She's unbelievable in the air. She's sort of the Ronaldo type. And then you've got Caitlin Ford, who's a bit more of a creator scorer. She's a bit more involved. I'd lean towards Ford as the more important player for the Matildas when you think about the fact that Matildas got to a World Cup semi-final primarily without Sam Kerr playing.
Yeah.
And yeah, she limped around a little bit in the quarterfinal, but and obviously scored a fantastic goal in a losing semi-final effort. But the team was still able to function without her. I'm not sure that's true of Ford. I think her off-the-ball movement, her adaptability, her versatility to play as a 9, plays a 10, plays a winger. She's pretty damn important. I think she'd be probably the last player that I'd drop from that team.
Teo?
Is it still? Are we having fun if I reject the premise of the question and say that obviously both are starting and playing every minute they can? The real question is who's coming on when they're exhausted at game 6.5 or 7.5 of a tournament? Because
That is less fun.
That is less fun.
It's probably a more relevant question.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, it's a question that these games can't answer because we're not playing good enough opposition to kind of get that answer. But I still think that they're both awesome. This is not an either-or question. Both will play. Both are complementary pieces. The real question is, when is Holly McNamara challenging them to make it a debate? It's not a debate for now because they can both be accommodated. It's when we have surplus options that it actually becomes a debate.
So I was a big Caitlin Ford over Sam Kerr fan prior to kind of the Women's World Cup. And, even I remember when Sam Kerr was injured, I was suggesting that the Ewing theory could be applied here, which is, for those who don't know, in basketball, Patrick Ewing of the New York Knicks left and the team improved. He was their best player. Kind of think like Harry Kane right now at Spurs. Best player left, the team improves, everyone steps up as a result. And I was a big fan of, I think Caitlin Ford is actually the best player on this team. Now, as soon as Sam Kerr scored that goal against England in the semi-final, I just felt like that was the biggest shut the fuck up forever, Nick. I'm the best player. I am absolutely amazing. And look, I agree with everything that you guys have all just said, but I just feel like that moment for me, since then, I've just been like, I'm never doubting Sam Kerr again. That was one of the best things I've ever seen in an Australian sport.
Can I say, to actually mention something fun? After 4 years, most of it serving a ban for performance-enhancing drug regime, North Korea made their triumphant return to women's football,
Welcome back.
beating the Asian champions China.
Yeah.
There is, at this point, it looks like there's going to be a 33% chance that we actually play North Korea over 2 legs to get to the Olympics. Now, Josh, you and I both know that the last time they may have been allowed to come here in 2015 for the Asian Cup, North Korea, but the last time they tried to send a team here, they didn't get their visas approved. So if we get North Korea, do you think the pulling power of the Matildas will make sure that their entire touring party will actually be allowed to enter the country?
Well, I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for diplomacy. Honestly, Albo should be at the game. You gotta host whichever dignitaries come down for it, and maybe we can talk.
Do we get the big cheese?
Yeah. Look, I don't think so. I think you probably get some sort of underling, but maybe we can talk nuclear test ban treaties. Maybe you can slide something under the door while using
Josh,
the lure of the Matildas as
small fish. Let's talk about, can we get rugby league or AFL to be popular in those countries? We need to. That's the real goal of the Australian government, is to somehow get rugby league popular in Papua New Guinea and get AFL popular in China.
Can we get Peter Volandis to North Korea? That's the question.
You know what? Honestly, the big question is with North Korea, if they just saw AFL, if it just was shown there, they go through a lot of things in North Korea. It's a rough life, but nothing is more rough than the fact that they don't get to see AFL. This is SEN Radio. Thanks for joining me.
Welcome back.
Joe, thoughts on North Korea? Yes or no?
Let's move on, I reckon, and let's talk Melbourne victory, because they had a pretty impressive.
Is the interview a rewatchable? I've only seen it once. It was immensely enjoyable.
Okay.
But is it a rewatchable?
Oof, I mean, not in North Korea. It's not even a watchable. Joe, victory.
Yep.
Talk to us about
Victory.
it. They're back, baby.
Hey, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Let's talk about Fornaroli. I mean, this guy. Also, I love. He's 36.
Let's talk about how you seem to have Nick DeBano's microwave internet in your house. What's going on?
Hey?
Yeah, I was just making a joke about how your internet is shit, and then you responded with...
okay.
Can you hear me, Bucks? Can you hear me?
Joe.
Look, I just want to talk about Fornaroli. I mean, the big four.
Are you in North Korea right now? Blink twice if you are.
I've been captured. I want to talk about the Rabona he scored for his fourth goal.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love, he's known to give it an attempt in the past. It was deflected. How do we feel about this?
I think Mario Balotelli saw it and said, "You want a Rabona? This is how a Rabona gets done."
This is a Rabona.
You know what? Did you feel like the fact that Luis Suarez sent a message into the A-Leagues talking about how much he loved Bruno Fornaroli this week inspired him to 4 goals? It was very Suarez v Norwich back in the day.
I think. Well, we were all making our Sharvin jokes at the game. I was there in person. First time I've seen a game as a fan, not in a media capacity, in a little while. I think the last game I actually went to just in the stands was for an A-League perspective was probably the Newcastle victory game last year.
Yep.
And Fornaroli scored in that as well. So beating the Jets doesn't exactly guarantee a strong season. No. It's not really a bellwether for anything. But this was a special performance. And I actually thought the unsung hero of the whole thing was Daniel Arzani.
Yeah, Daniel Arzani.
He was cooking. He was so confident. Watching him take on defenders, slalom left and right. He was combining quite nicely with Machach. He crossed the ball in for Fornaroli's equaliser, and I just thought he was so lively, and it was just absolute filth, some of the stuff he was doing. And Fornaroli's performance was explosive, but Arzani, it gave me a lot of hope that he might be back this year to what we know and love from him.
Teo?
2 of the more impressive winners, I know, putting Raw and Wanderers aside, in Victory and Adelaide, now playing each other Saturday night feature game this coming week. How good's this? Like, I everyone's always, A-League's, on the slide, A-League's back and so forth. The A-League is like properly, genuinely back with a Victory Adelaide game, Victory playing well, Adelaide scoring freely. This shapes as, not season defining, but just a fascinating contest between 2 teams in awesome form. And if this is what Victory are capable of, then I think a lot of the misgivings I had about them last season with Popper Ball and, trying to incorporate Nanny into the team, they've moved on from them pretty emphatically if we have a sample size of 2.
Yeah, and a Victory that can't stop scoring and can't defend to save their lives. Could they have changed more since last season? It's unbelievable. They actually nearly gave that game away. Like, it was nervy in the stands towards the end. Newcastle was storming back. I mean, I promised last week that I would award a Maverick and a Goose of the Week to the Jets in honor of their aviation heritage. I think, this week's Maverick has got to be Clayton Taylor. What a performance from a young kid who's another one who's flown the coop from Sydney FC. They seem to be supplying the rest of the league with a pipeline of talent. If it's not coming out of Adelaide, it's Sydney FC letting promising young guns go. He scored 2. He probably should have had a third. I didn't really understand how that goal was ruled out when the defender played at it. We had a very long VAR check for it, so I'm sure there's some technical explanation for it. But as a match-going fan, we were absolutely none the wiser. But he was superb, and they were storming back at the end there. And if it hadn't been for that awful giveaway, I guess, my Goose of the Week has to be Lachlan Bayliss for that hospital back pass that Nishan Velupale ran away with. But they were actually on for one of the comeback of all comebacks. It was actually quite nervy in the stands. So it's all been lost in the wash of Fornaroli scoring 4 and Victory having this great atmosphere and fantastic win. But Newcastle, they did themselves proud in the second half, I thought, after a disastrous first half.
I mean, just on Taylor, I think he's a classic example of a player who, to the outsiders, you assess his strengths and you look at what he's going to come in and do for you. but maybe training with and against the Sydney FC senior team, maybe they just got too bogged down in what he couldn't do. Because I've seen him dribble players and do awesome things in moments in NPL games for 2 solid seasons. And he is one of those players who has fantastic close control, eye for goal, lightning quick, clearly A-League level speed, and was ripping up NPL. And maybe it's just the familiarity counted against him at Sydney. Whereas obviously, maybe finances and youth have market forces drive this decision for Newcastle to sign him and give him a go. But I also think maybe just the eyes from the outside, knowing a little bit less, might have been beneficial as to why they brought him in. So everyone's saying it's an inspired signing, but he was under Sydney's nose doing this for 2 seasons.
You know what? I almost think with Sydney, they need to have a season where they have no money and they're just forced to play the kids. Like basically what's happening at Barca right now. All these great young kids are coming through only because Barca couldn't sign any great, huge superstars. Gavi's coming through, Pedri's coming through, Gui's coming through, Yamal's coming through, Balde's coming through, all from the youth team. And it's literally because it's like, look, sorry, we can't sign anyone. Try that 18-year-old, try that 19-year-old from the youth team. Sydney FC have had so many good young players who
that's what this season was shaping as, though. That first cup tie where they got out of jail against the Mariners, that, Keely Adamson played really well in that game. And now it's kind of, will we see him in the A-League at all during the year? So for whatever reason, maybe just the international scouts got back to them and some dominoes fell to bring in older players, and then they won the cup, and it seemingly, the pecking order was reestablished. But at the start of their Australia Cup campaign, it actually looked as though they were going to have that season, and now maybe they're not.
Yeah, Sydney are in a bit of trouble. Joe, look, this week, unbelievable amounts of fun in the league, unbelievable amounts of goals. We had the 5-3, obviously, at the victory Jets game. This podcast has been around 3 episodes. Can we claim all the credit for an exponential growth of fun in the league? Is the influence, because I feel like if we don't have a LinkedIn account yet, you're kind of the master of creating different accounts, but we should get a LinkedIn account and claim credit for something that we really didn't have much of a part of, because that is the ethos of LinkedIn, is to basically go on there and be like, look, just so proud to be nominated for the award. Didn't really have anything to do with it, but, I'll claim
Maybe
credit.
we should ask our friend Residual Power for some tips.
Look, I'll be honest. Yes, we should. We should absolutely claim. And in the spirit of LinkedIn, I'm delighted to share that we have made Australian 10 times more fun, at least this week, because I feel like we spoke about it last week. There were more. The shots were up. There were, what was an average of about 33 shots per game in round 1. I think it was very similar this week as well. It seems like, and maybe it's the victory effect that you were talking about, Josh. Last season, they're a total different image of what they are this year. They can't defend, but they're scoring goals freely. And I feel like a big part of it as well, actually, is teams not being afraid and being instructed to play out from the back. It's very important, but also you see the quality is not quite up to scratch.
Everywhere.
There's a lot of stuff ups. There's a lot of goals, which is fun. It's just fun. You see a lot more, and it makes for a more enticing contest for sure.
I'm begging A-League coaches, please do not fall back to what you're desperately probably trying to go back to, which is to be more conservative, to take less risks. I know they're sitting there Monday morning, they're going, we conceded 5, we conceded 3, we conceded this. I'm begging you, please resist that urge to be more conservative and shut up shop. I know someone is going to go full on 2 banks of 4, shut down shop, counter from now on. And oh man, it's going to be brutal to watch. But for
what
now,
about the standard of goalkeeping in the league this season? It's just plummeted, and it's made the league much more fun. I mean, maybe we just don't need goalkeepers. That might be the answer to making the A-League fun. I mean, we had Andrew Redmayne fluff a kick, Paul Robinson style. Yeah. We had Ollie Sale give the ball away straight to Oscar Zavada to chip him. Very funny against his former side. I think a few Wellington fans were having a bit of a laugh at his expense. We had the Mariners goalkeeper in the AFC Cup. Let that one in off his leg.
Unbelievably bad.
And then for the first goal on Sunday in the victory game, Paul Izzo did a Vedran Janjetovic. He touched a ball that was going out for a goal kick, and they conceded off the resulting corner. So I think the only in-form goalkeepers in the league, maybe Joe Gauchi, maybe
Alex
Lawrence
Paulson
Thomas,
from Wellington.
And
he's been good.
There it is, Alex Paulson. Unbelievable showing.
My boy Nick. See, we still haven't met Nick Devano, but we're pen pals. I feel like we really get along, and I look forward to meeting you soon.
I think you guys have the same internet provider, so maybe you can connect through that way.
But Alex Paulson was unreal with that penalty save. He did he had a moment. He gave himself a moment to do the sort of Mark Bresciano style, like gladiatorial stare into the distance, and then he remembered that what you're actually supposed to do when you save a penalty late in the game as a goalkeeper to win a match is stop your teammates from congratulating you and say, defend the corner, which is, it's contractually obligated amongst, the goalkeepers union. But
he's
Alex
young.
Paulson,
He's learning.
breath of fresh air into the competition. I also, just from that game, I did want to bring up before we move on, look, a lot of people deride the warm-up interview before kickoff because the players are sort of going through their paces, they're kind of panting and sweating and not really concentrating. But we did get some remarkable insights on the Sky Sports New Zealand broadcast from Phoenix's Finn Sermon. So I'm just going to play a little clip here.
Finn, you're up against Taggart today. How have you prepared for that battle?
It's good. Yeah, sorry guys.
You're going to tell us about Taggart and what you're expecting of him today, Finn?
Yeah, Adam. You don't want it to be slow. Taggart's a good player. Sorry, I'm just in another conversation.
Look, let's let you focus on your warm-up, mate. Go well today. I hope it goes well in the sunshine here in Wellington, mate.
Okay, sorry. Thank you about that.
You're all good, mate. You're all good. Let's take a look at the starting 11.
That's the best interview ever. That's all I want. I actually want people doing the hardest warm-ups ever and then just going, yeah, Adam Taggart's a good player.
Well, his assistant coach chose that moment. The poor guy. His assistant coach chose that moment to start dishing out very specific tactical instructions, which he's probably trying to listen to, trying to answer the question, and also worried that those tactical instructions are going to be picked up over his microphone and given away to the other team before kickoff. So we're all bad at multitasking. I'm very bad at multitasking, and I felt a lot of empathy for Finn Sermon in that moment.
That was sensational television. That was the second best interview in Australian sport this week. The best interview, I think, was when they asked Michael Clark about, tell us what happened up in Noosa with Karl Stefanovic. And he responded with, look, I'm here to talk about lemon, lime and bitters.
Why does no one want to talk about bitters?
One of the great responses in Australian sport history. Look, last week we said, when in doubt, just sing the national anthem. And, no one can get you with anything. In fact, when we ruffled some feathers this week, we just sang the national anthem as hard as we could and everyone forgave us. But to respond with, look, I'm here to talk about lemon, lime and bitters. That's if you're an A-League player or an A-League coach, you get a question you don't like, just say, look, I'm here to talk about lemon, lime and bitters and move on.
Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio.
Look, it's been an unbelievable week. You know what we should talk about? Last week we brought it up. I mean, the power of this show is big in terms of we've massively increased the level of fun in Australian football. However, we did ask last week for Bacchus not to score anymore. He hadn't scored in 116 games. We asked 111, was it?
Yep. This was on 112 this weekend.
We asked the opposition to stop him. We asked his teammates not to pass to him. Everyone ignored us. He scored his first goal in A-League history. I couldn't believe it when it actually happened. He couldn't believe it either because there was a huge jump of celebration from him. But I mean, Joe, this is a bit of a worry for the podcast and for the world, would you say?
It's ominous. And was it you last week, Nick, that I think you installed a bit of a curse upon Paul Kieran, but now I'm kind of looking at it as in a different light, in a bit of a different perspective. I'm thinking maybe you gave him a little bit of a kiss of the kiss of life instead of the kiss of death. So I think maybe also what I love about that goal was he hit it with 100 power. He hit that ball as hard as he can, but he just got on top of it a little bit. So it actually rolled quite gently, very accurate. But for the power that he produced from that shot, it should have gone well over the bar, but just luckily it crept in. But good on him. Maybe this will be the thing that he needed to get on a roll.
Josh, your thoughts on the Bacchus first goal and also the Mariners, because the Mariners, I'm convinced, are fun. We saw them bring the fun in the AFC Cup when they smashed Bali United, an insane match. But are they any good this season, defending champions with, of course, Mark Jackson, the former NBA commentator, as coach? Well,
he's not the coach. He's the football manager. They've been very specific about that, the Mariners. What? I'm not sure why. We were talking last week
about a sponsorship thing.
Well, we were talking last week about which A-League coaches would be good and bad at FM. I think Mark Jackson is the football manager. So Yeah, very specific in that press release. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I think they're going to be in for a little bit of pain first and foremost. Given the turnover in the team, they've lost a lot of important players, but I still think they've got a lot to offer and a lot to contribute. Angel Torres looks like a player. Nice to see Brian Caltech scoring, I think, his first ever A-League goal. So yeah, look, I think we give them a few weeks before we make any pronouncements on how their season's going to go. But I would be pretty surprised if they were, up there competing for a title again this year after losing Nick Montgomery, who was such an outstanding head coach who clearly lifted them beyond the sum of their parts.
Well, we wish the best of luck to the football manager. Hey, before we move on from the A-League, we're going to talk a little bit of Ange in a minute, but we need to play a game inspired by NBA commentators. It is who he played for. You may have seen this. Charles Barkley tries to guess, because there's a lot of trades in the NBA, a lot of 30 teams. Which player plays on exactly the right team? We're going to play this A-League version. I believe,
the reason we're doing this is because you're out of the country, Stoll.
Yes.
We need to make sure that you're still paying attention to Australian football and you haven't just been whipped up in the glamour of Spain, Barcelona and whatnot. So I've picked a few easy ones. I've picked a few more difficult ones. We're going to put up some pictures on the
I feel like this game could use a little bit of music as well, so I'm just going to pop on a little bit of...
Definitely. Let's get some game show music going on underneath it.
Oh, no. Whoa.
That's actually quite nice.
That's not bad. Very intense. All right, Josh,
build a little bit of tension. But I haven't used, of course, current photos of these players. Otherwise, it would give away the team straight away. So let's start with an easy one. Where in the A-League is Bruce Kamau?
Oh, he's popped up a lot of places. Perth? Is it Perth these days?
Correct. Yes, he is at Perth Glory. He came off the bench.
Almost.
All right. Next, Bruce, another A-League
journeyman. That goal in the final.
We've got Jacob Tratt.
Oh,
he did start on the weekend, Stoll, so I thought you'd get this one.
Gold Coast United? I don't know. Mariners? Yeah, Mariners?
No, he is at Western United in the heart of the defence there. They didn't have a good week. We haven't spoken about it.
Not going to be there for long, mate.
All right, next up, we're going to go for Noah Smith. He's been on a few teams already.
Oh, Noah Smith. Honestly, I can't believe he's even in the league. Brisbane Raw? No?
Incorrect. He is back at the Mariners. His second spell there already. All right, we've got Taras Gamulka. I couldn't find an old profile photo of him, so we get an action shot. So Taras Gamulka.
Is he at City?
He was at City. He is now at Brisbane Raw.
Oh, man. This is brutal.
So you've only got one so far out of 4.
1 out of 5, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, come on. Here we go. I'm going to get it right.
All right, next up, former Western Sydney Wanderers junior, Thomas Aquilina.
Aquaman.
He is at the Jets.
He is at the Jets. He hasn't played yet. So I don't know how you knew that.
I think he was there last season, wasn't he? Or maybe I'm getting confused with someone else. But anyway, well done, Aquilina.
A lucky guess, maybe. But
he was at the Mariners last season.
Going to get into the custodians. Have we lost our music?
Jay,
we're still going.
Yeah, come on, this is a great segment. This is better than Sushi Hub.
Hey, listen.
Oh my God. It ramped up that music. All right.
It did, didn't it?
Production value. James Delianov.
Oh, Delianov. He's got to be at MacArthur because I don't watch them play ever.
No, I'm afraid he's at Adelaide United.
Oh.
Empty again. And now finally, Matt Acton.
He's the man. You can find him at Western Wanderers.
He's at Brisbane Roar. Back to second spell there. So Stoll, only 2 out of 8, was it?
Yeah, that's rough. You know what? Everyone sitting at home judging me, just know that if this guy had played for Girona or Real Sociedad or Cadiz, I probably wouldn't have known him either, but, still.
Josh, make it easier next time by just having one club players and see if Stoll can pick up that it's a double bluff when you show them in this season's kit with this season's headshot.
Honestly, with Gamulka, I thought that was the case. At one stage, I was like, maybe it's a double bluff. Look, that's not great, but it was a good game. I did enjoy that. Hey, look, you did mention it. Western Sydney Wanderers Western United. Josh, was this the luckiest 5-0 victory ever?
Well, the XG certainly suggested that. It was something like 0.98 in the first half.
And they had 5 goals.
They scored 5, but it leveled out a little bit. They got up to nearly 2 and then didn't score in the second half. But it's amazing how often in these sort of shellackings, they just completely take their foot off the pedal at halftime. I don't know if that's like an etiquette thing, like, oh, we don't want to embarrass you, or if it's the other team has a absolute rocket up them at halftime and, picks up their game. I don't know what it is, but some of the worst set piece defending I think you're likely to see, but also horrible. A couple of absolute bangers. Teo, you're well placed to talk about Lockie Brook. I believe you called one of his Australia Cup games and he scored a howitzer in that one as well.
Amongst 5, but hey, this vein of form that he's in, all credit to the Wanderers. Gee, Wellington come out of last week's 0-0 now looking so much better, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, you're a Tottenham fan. Tottenham were actually on Friday night local time. They were 5 points clear at the top of the league. I think for the first time since they won the league back in the 60s. And I don't know if you know, it's a bit of a well-kept secret in the football industry. Their football manager, as the Central Coast Mariners would say, is actually an Australian, Ange Postecoglou, and he's top of the league, baby. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Unbelievable. The best Melbourne Greek to come out of South Melbourne since Nick Stoll. They're doing well. They were 5
from Essendon. North Melbourne.
Yeah, look, it's pretty unbelievable. They were 5 points clear as they played the first game. It's cut back to 2, but it wasn't their best performance against Crystal Palace. They are tricky to break down Palace, but they're also were missing Eze and Elise, their 2 biggest attacking threats. I thought it was still semi-controlled at points. Palace got a goal back late, which there was a long VAR look at this, and it should have been ruled out for handball. It wasn't. So it was a pretty tense last 5-10 minutes for Spurs, but it's pretty unbelievable. And the most exciting part of it is the next game they have is actually in over a week's time on a Tuesday morning in Australia against Chelsea at home, up against their old manager, Maurizio Pochettino.
Yeah, wow.
So that's going to be really tense. It's like your dad and your ex-father-in-law in a fist fight behind the Maccas. That's what's going to be. Because does that make sense? Theo's looking at me.
Not really. Your dad. I was trying to work it out. Your dad.
So it's almost like your dad is Noah Smith because he was your dad. Then he leaves the scene. Your ex-father-in-law comes in. He goes, and then your dad comes back.
Dad comes back. Harder. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's even more complex.
No, because I guess.
Have you been reading my DMs again?
Hold on, sorry, Joe. So Van Postecoglou is your dad, but if you were a Tottenham fan, you didn't really know that your dad existed. So you would have been like either adopted or abandoned by your dad. But then you get married, and then you have a father-in-law who actually you really achieve a lot with as a father-in-law.
You respect.
Then you divorce your.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of a stepdad. Whoops.
Yeah, you divorce your wife or husband, whatever, and then you kind of lose your ex-father-in-law, and then for some reason your original dad has come back into the picture and is treating you amazingly well. You absolutely love him. You can't get enough of your old dad, who's now your new dad, and for some reason he's going to fight your ex-father-in-law. Is that the analogy you're going for?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not too sure how it kind of turned out, that one.
I'm completely lost. But
also,
what does that make Roy Hodgson? I mean,
but also the dad that you once
the gene pool.
It's also tricky because the dad that you once loved so much is now with someone that you despise in Chelsea.
Oh, yeah.
So it's even more complex.
Anyway, in that Angels adaptation, they do sing Pochettino is dead. So is one of the lyrics. So
they do.
I would just say this is a 99.8 on the Paramount Plus index of analysis.
Family tree index.
Yeah, super clear. Totally get it. All good.
But in all seriousness, it's next Tuesday morning. It's the last game of the round. So look, only 2 points behind Arsenal and City at the moment. So they might actually move ahead of Spurs. So they'll be looking to get top spot back. And usually up against Chelsea, Tottenham don't fare very well home or away. But
they've never had Ange, mate. They've never had Ange.
They never had Ange, and there's something going on that just has the belief. I have a good feeling about this one, and I think they'll get it done 2-0. I'm putting in an early prediction of 2-0.
I think honestly, I think Tottenham is just going to never lose except for against City, and that means they'll probably end up coming second in the title race. So
that's the thing.
I don't care. I just want to listen to the press conferences. That's all. I don't care about the team. I just want to hear Ange talk. I want to hear what dumb questions the English journalists throw at him, because they know whatever they throw at him, he'll come up with something. Like, he's part-time football manager, full-time down-to-earth inspirational quote machine.
Yeah.
The press conference before the Crystal Palace.
Josh, I saw some suggestion that Ange could be stolen by the Wallabies to be the new National Rugby Union coach. And I thought, gee, haven't they just strode out of their station and totally misunderstood the stature of the job Ange is currently in? How do you feel about your... I know we're nearly wrapping up, but how do you feel about your mate losing his job, Josh? Because you were a big fan of Eddie Jones.
I was a fan of his content. As a content creator, big fan of Eddie Jones. As a rugby coach, I don't really care, to be honest.
To be honest with you, I don't care.
In the words of Slaven Bilic, but he was great content each and every week. And he had the right blend of being like quite funny and charming at times, but also a bit scary. The journalists were a little bit afraid of him. I think the journalists are getting too comfortable with Ange. Like, they'll just throw anything out there at him. One of them was playing like the Happy Days theme tune off his phone in the press conference the other week. And the latest
Ange didn't
one,
like that.
But no, he said he really, like, it's funny when he's annoyed as well, because he's just shaking his head. He's going, mate, you what?
Hang on, is the first person to get Ange fatigue Ange himself? It's like, I'm sick of being me. I've had enough.
He's unsubscribed from Optus and Keep
Everyone
Up
pretend I'm
specials.
Conte again. In this, he comes out with a Conte mask. All right.
You know, I mean, speaking of bad questions, I want to go to a press conference, and I'm going to try and get to an Ange press conference at some stages here, and I'm going to ask him, do you think you're like Joe's dad, who is now going to fight his ex-father-in-law? I'm going to explain my analogy, and then just see if I get permanently banned from all Ange press conferences.
Mate, if you ask a long, convoluted 2-minute question, it doesn't make you special.
I think I'd just turn up and ask him to just tell me he's proud of me. You know, that would probably be my main objective, because that's what you want, approval. But in the press conference before the Palace game, they said, "Oh, Roy Hodgson is 76 and still coaching. Are you going to be still coaching at 76, do you reckon?" And he was like, "No, I'll probably be on a Greek island somewhere doing a bit of punditry, become an expert overnight." And I can't wait. Well, obviously, I'm loving his managerial tenure in the Premier League. But I cannot wait for late career Ange Postecoglou, the pundits shooting from the hip, maybe video link from a Greek island, doesn't care anymore. I think that's going to be must-see TV.
You know what? I'd happily be the producer who lives on the Greek island with Ange Postecoglou and just sets up that. Ange, if you want to go into business together, this is actually a true story. At one stage, I was planning to go over to London to do some Ange-related content, and I was thinking when I get into the press conference, I absolutely have to ham up the fact that I'm Australian and try and really make him kind of connect with me. Be like, "Yeah, Ange, how's it going, mate?" Nick,
again,
from
Stoll,
Sydney.
If you'd been to any of the Women's World Cup press conferences, that wouldn't make you special, believe me.
Hey, look, we should say goodbye. We should say Rey Mysterio to this whole thing. Joe, do you have anything you want to plug this week?
No, not really. Nick, come again next week. This has been fun, and I think we'll go again, eh?
Joe, you're underselling yourself. You're a producer on like one of the most popular shows on Australian TV, the Cheap Seats, baby. I mean, admittedly, I don't necessarily think that our audience is big enough that it's going to see a huge spike in Cheap Seats ratings.
Underselling it, mate.
However, counter to that, if you could get the Cheap Seats to plug this podcast, now we're talking. So we'll here's the olive branch. We'll suggest a bit of goodwill, and we'll say Cheap Seats, one of my favorite shows on TV, along with Have You Been Paying Attention? Working Dog is the best production company in all of Australia. Joe, you're a part of it. It must be amazing. Joe, can you get us a bit of a promo on Cheap Seats?
I think the first thing to do would our podcast is currently recording while Have You Been Paying Attention is on air. So maybe we'll have to shift that time slot a little bit, and then we can work out a sponsorship deal, and maybe Sushi Hut can come in next. Yeah,
then play, catch up. Josh, you got anything to plug this week?
Absolutely not. No, just tell us if you want, if you like the old logo, if you like Joe's AI generated thing, or if you like the I don't think we can put the MAFFS, Channel 9 thing as the podcast logo. The lawyers won't allow it. But do you want some military branding on this podcast? And should Nick Stoll be the sports czar? That's what I want to know from the listeners.
Teo, anything to plug?
yeah, watch the A-League on Paramount Plus and the A-League Women's on Paramount Plus or 10 Play, Dub Zone, 8:30 Sunday night. Myself, Teresa Polias, Neve Owens. You can't lose.
No, probably the best kind of TV show in Australian football right now, I'd say. Anyway,
just to finish, did I tell you one of the tweets I got? I don't get much feedback from people on Dub Zone, but I did get one tweet that said, "I thought Teo Tio would
Uncle.
be better looking."
Oh, well, in a way, you know,
so
backhanded compliment. But what they're saying is you have a sexy.
They're
sexy
saying my voice had
Unbelievable.
misled them. So Fab Clem 394, I'm sorry.
Go fuck yourself.
Teo, you got to have the Chris Griffiths-Jones dating profile.
Yeah.
You've got to be the disembodied voice of Teo Pellizzeri.
You know what?
For the third time, can you guys stop reading my DMs?
I would say.
And with that, Booyaka 619, Rey Mysterio, and with that, I think I'm done.
All right. What I would say is maybe he was referring to an uncle that he was talking about because Tio is uncle in Spanish. So, you know, there's possibilities.
Let's not bring more family drama into this than we already have.
Look, we really appreciate everyone listening. If you can go and rate us 5 stars because you like the show, that'd be great. If you don't like the show, if you could go and rate us 5 stars as well, give us an inflated ego, and then an inevitable downfall will be even more hurtful. So, you know, you can get revenge, kind of the long playing game, share it, put on, follow all the things that we have on social, write LinkedIn posts claiming credit for this show and how much you're glad to be a part of it, even if you're just a listener. It's been fun. Please sing your national anthems with pride, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks and success.